Welcome to the chaos vortex.
Hello my lovelies, welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. In this episode we are talking about the ultimate declutter. We are going to be Swedish death cleaning my wardrobe. Now before I talk about Swedish death cleaning and what it actually is and how I'm going to be utilising this method of decluttering, I'd like to read a quote, if I may. The quote is from this book, A Thousand Feasts by Nigel Slater, who is a food writer, but he wrote this about clothes and it really is a perfect summation. I could not have put it better myself of how I actually feel about some of my clothes. I have a deep affection for some of my clothes, mostly jumpers, coats and boots. They are so easy to love, but pretty much everything is treated with the sort of care that may surprise those who made them. Sitting at the workbenches, cutting, stitching and knitting, I look after them, even cherish them. There is an extraordinary sadness about discarding an aging jumper or a threadbare coat, a cardigan that has unravelled over the years, ravaged by moths or stained while making dinner. And I do feel there is a bond, even an unspoken intimacy with our clothes. After all, they touch us, they live next to our skin, though I doubt they care very much about it. Now, I have a real emotional connection to a lot of my clothes, and I'm actually good at organising my wardrobe. I have my wardrobe audit in my dressmaker's journal, which works for me. It's not actually the sorting out bit that I have a problem with, it's that after bit. What I've noticed is that I sort out the things that I love, and then the things I'm not sure about, and then the things I want to donate, and then they sit there in bags or in boxes or shoved to the back of cupboards and under beds, and actually I don't end up clearing the space. I enjoy what's on my rail, on my wardrobe, and I feel like I know my style now. I know myself, which is a wonderful thing, but I really don't attend to proper storage, which is a problem because of moths and things like that. And then I just don't actually do the donating part, which is really important. So Swedish death cleaning, which sounds like the most dramatic thing ever, but actually is a really logical and practical solution. And I know that there's lots of videos about it here on YouTube and loads of blog articles, and the book Dodstanning, which I've probably pronounced wrongly, which has been a huge sensation. Ostensibly, Swedish death cleaning is simply getting your affairs in order whilst you are still fit and able to do it, so that those you love aren't burdened with the process once you're no longer here. Having been in a situation where I've had to sort out a relative's estate after they've gone, I really don't want to be putting my beautiful kiddo through that when I'm no longer here. I don't want them to have the burden, but you know what, also I don't want the burden. I'm feeling burdened by all this clutter. I want my outer self, myself and my environment to reflect, to be aligned with and integrated with who I am inside. And I want to move into this next phase of my life, the decade of my 50s, in a way that is exciting and energetic, and having loads of clutter weighing down on me is not helping me feel like that. One of the things that I should say about Swedish death cleaning, and the reason that I really like it, is that it's a take your time, go slow method. This is not about going berserk and getting rid of everything and becoming completely minimalist and really getting rid of treasures. I'm not that kind of person. As that lovely quote from Nigel Slater says, I have this connection. The problem is, with the way that I'm not organising myself, I'm disorganising myself, is that that connection is being broken because the stuff that I want is hidden somewhere and screwed up and just not being cherished. And whilst I'm not wearing certain things, or they're just things that are hanging in my wardrobe that are archival pieces or of great sentimental value, even though I'm not wearing them, it's not cherishing or nurturing them to not look after them properly. So This is how I am doing the Swedish death cleaning, and I'm integrating this with a bit of the Marie Kondo, I suppose, even though there's lots of crossover, and also my own wardrobe audit, because as I said, that really works for me. The first thing I did was I took everything out of my bedroom, all the clothes out of my bedroom, and I put them into the vortex of chaos, which I showed you at the top of this video. I decided that it was better to have one area that was absolutely filled with stuff, and then I could just take out from that. So the first group that I took out were all the things that I really, really love, and those spring summery items going on the rail, and those autumn winter things are being properly stored. That means that I had to find a way of storing them. Big laundry bags was just not cutting it anymore because they take up so much room, and in my little cottage I've got zilch storage practically. So I decided to try out those vacuum sealed bags, and I also spent some time making these fabulous humbug lavender bags, which is a tutorial that will go up on my journal really soon. I'll put a little announcement on my community page just to alert you if you want to follow that tutorial, because it's a wonderful little stash buster, and it feels really lovely to be making those to go in with my clothes, so that when I come to reintroduce myself to them in the autumn, they'll be lovely and fresh and smell beautiful. I'm washing and laundering everything I go, so that there's no risk of storing any bugs or anything that is going to be problematic later on, and the lavender should help with that. I am taking special care of all my knitwear, and as I'm sorting through these things, there are a couple of things that are becoming very apparent to me. It's really easy to deal with the greatest hits, the wardrobe heroes, the things that I've loved. There are a few things in my wardrobe, however, that I have mixed feelings about, and those happen to be trousers particularly. I've mentioned before that I have a bit of a troubled relationship with trousers. I know many of you feel the same way, and I'm approaching this in two ways. So there are items in my wardrobe that I just feel awful in when I put on. I may have bought them or made them to create some kind of look, but they're just not working. Those things that make me feel awful when I put them on are gone. They're going. I have some things though that on some occasions I felt great in them, and then in other occasions I felt awful in them. So those I'm putting on hold, because I think it's not a good idea to make this really reactive decision about certain things, because that's how accidents happen. That's how you end up getting rid of things that you really shouldn't. Some things are just maybe in the wrong colour, and as I'm doing this, I'm actually filling out my wardrobe audit, working out what I need to make or replace. Those gaps in the wardrobe are becoming really evident, but my rule is, if I feel bad in something, or it's got really negative connotations, memories, associations for me, if it's just not filling me with joy, then it's gone. So a case in point about an item that I've had a good experience in, but then I've also worn and felt miserable in, are my Helen trousers, which are a fairly recent make. Now, I love the style of them. I'm really pleased with them as a concept. I think that making them in this colour, which is outside of my wheelhouse to be fair, is the thing that is causing me the issue, because I do have days when I wake up and think I really would like to wear a pair of trousers. So these are my wearable toile, and it was always my intention to make them in a fabric that I was more in love with. What I'm thinking is actually these would be amazing in denim. I don't have any denim in my wardrobe. I think I've got like one pair of black jeans, but these in a lovely indigo, really beautiful soft denim, I would get that sort of Katharine Hepburn 30s style, and I could wear them with sort of graphic tees like these or blouses, and it would fulfill that need for something casual, that vintage utility, and I wouldn't feel so unlike myself. Love the shape, love the style of them, love the concept of them in my wardrobe, but just don't love this particular fabric. once I've got through all my seasonal items and properly and lovingly stored my autumn winter garments, I should have a lovely rail of spring summer clothes that I'm going to really enjoy wearing. And what I'm doing this time, which is slightly different, now normally I organise my wardrobe rail in my bedroom by colour, so I just colour block everything. What I find with that is that I'm reaching for certain items and neglecting other items, so there are quite a few unworn things in my wardrobe. What I'm going to do differently this time is when I organise my wardrobe, once I've done all of this sorting, which is a slow process, and I don't have at the end of this video a ta-da, I've Swedish death cleaned and I now have one shoe that I'm going to wear forever. I am going to have to update you as and when this all becomes apparent, because this is an experiment for me and I'm interested to see if it works. What I've decided to do is to extend this idea of planning, sewing outfits and making outfits, thrifting whole sort of outfits, alongside this sort of story that I have going on, the regal core and the vintage utility, which are two looks that I'm really loving, and I know that when I wear things like that I feel really good in them. Case in point is the outfit that I'm wearing today, which is one of my vintage utility outfits, and it's basically my Live to Sew t-shirt, which I designed and is on my website, my Merchant and Mills shepherd skirt. I did do a sewing video about this. A few people have asked me to do something in more detail about the pockets and the plackets, which I know were quite confusing. I didn't even do them brilliantly myself, so something like that is coming along, because I know that I have worn this skirt so much since I made it. It's been a sort of a year-long wear, so I probably need something else the same or similar in another colour, so more of that in an upcoming sewing plans video. I think if I organise my wardrobe so that I've got outfits to wear on a weekly basis and utilise my actual closet that I have in my bedroom a little bit more cleverly, then I'm gonna enjoy dressing up and doing some styling. And I really appreciate that so many of you commented and enjoyed the styling video that I did on regal core and vintage utility, and you've said that you would like to see more, so I will happily oblige, and then I can update you on whether this system actually works for me. So this method of decluttering one's life is not to get this sort of minimalistic life, because minimalism is not my cup of tea, but it is a way of unburdening myself from the clutter and enjoying the things that I have, that I've carefully made and thrifted and treasure and enjoy. I'm hoping that it makes me really enjoy those items and play dress up a lot more. And then once I've done my clothes, I'm also doing this with my sewing room, with fabrics and so on, and then I will be going through all those other areas of life, paperwork and photos and books and so on. And I would like to think that by the time the festive season rolls around, I will have got at least a really good handle on all of this, and I will be feeling uncluttered and light and burden free, and I will be free to enjoy these things, knowing also that they will be enjoyed by those that I leave behind, because ultimately a sustainable life is one where you do nurture and cherish everything that you have, and you think about the circle of life. Really hard to not break into a Lion King song there, but I'm resisting. So that is the plan, my lovelies, and I look forward to checking back in with you and telling you about my progress. This year is very much about me decluttering and sorting and decorating and just moving into this next phase of my life with joy and with abundance. As ever, my lovelies, thank you so much for taking the time to spend the time with me here in my very disorganised and messy little cottage by the sea. Let's hope by the next time we meet, I will have made some inroads into the declutter and the organising